In our last lesson, we touched on creating montages very quickly and very easily. The only issue with creating it the way that we created it was we had no music as a reference point, and in many cases when you're creating music montages, music is really what drives the montage. You'll be editing to the beat, you might be editing off beat, but in a lot of cases music plays an important role. So in this lesson, I wanted to get in and talk about how you can quickly and easily create music montages inside of your Premiere Pro timeline. What we're going to do before we get started is we have a piece of music now in our timeline, and I picked one that is a good piece of music that has a good beat to it. Now it's not exactly camping music, but that's okay because like I said, I wanted a piece of music that has a good strong beat for us to edit on. The next thing we're going to need is we're going to need a clip that we're going to use that's going to represent our montage. And to do that, I'm not going to use a piece of media. I'm going to head back to the Create New Item button and I'm going to come down to Color Matte. I'm going to create a new color matte that matches the parameters of my timeline, and I'm just going to make it black. I'll call this Montage Clip. I'm going to say OK, and all I'm going to do is put it onto video track number 1. Now to do the technique that I'm going to show you, you are going to need to map a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to head up to my keyboard shortcuts, and the keyboard shortcut that we want to map is Add Edit. You'll see that I have Add Edit mapped to F6 on my keyboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the beginning of the timeline, and I'm going to want to make sure that I only have the track selected that we're going to want to manipulate for our music montage. In this case, because I have my main montage clip on track V1, I'm going to make sure that I have that track selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my timeline, and every time I get to a beat where I'm going to want the edit to change, I'm going to press F6 on my keyboard. Here we go. And we're going to add an edit here, and another one here. We'll add a couple more. And one here, and lastly one here, right there. Now that's good enough for you to get the idea of how this works. Ideally, if our timeline was a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we could just play it through one time and have our montage basically cut without a piece of footage in our timeline. But now we're going to need to get in and add that footage in. All we now need to do is to pick some shots. Let's pick our family camping shot, this one here with them eating hot dogs. I'm going to mark an in point only because Premiere is going to use that in point and the start of the clip in the timeline to line things up. And the out point is going to be determined by the next incoming edit. We'll use this clip as the first clip. I'm going to select that first clip in my timeline. I'm going to take this clip, I'm going to drag it down, and once I get it down to the timeline, I'm going to hold Option on the Mac, Alt on Windows. You'll notice now that the clip has changed from being an overlay, from me just taking this clip and dropping it in, to me replacing the clip that's in my timeline. And once I let it go, you'll now see that I can easily get in and replace these clips very quickly and very easily because I already have the montage cut from simply playing the timeline and adding edits. Now if I come back to the beginning of the timeline and I press play, you'll see that my music montage is all cut with the edits happening perfectly on the beat, just like that, quickly and easily, because we did all the work in advance.